Hello and welcome to my first book tag video. The tag was created by @enterthebook, and I saw this tag on @gingerbibliophile. It made me chuckle considering my recent book haul video, so I decided to give it a try. If you see me looking down, I'm reading the prompts here. So number 1. Do you plan your book purchases ahead or impulse buy? I actually do both. If I'm considering research or I'm looking for a particular title, then I will plan that purchase. Impulse buy, if you've seen my last few book haul videos from the thrift store, some of those books were planned for the 24 in 2024 reading. Others were planned for my different projects like the Da Vinci Code Spiral, and some were just, hey, maybe it's time to revisit this author like King and Kuntz. So those would have been more of a impulse because I saw them at the time. So I do both. How do you decide what books to buy? Lately, when I've been going into my thrift store, and even if I go to Indigo, I typically have sections that I go to first. I'm looking for authors that I know or titles that I'm interested in. So when I'm deciding, it's where's my reading at for the moment or what am I currently working on? What is your philosophy on where you shop? So the options are online versus in person. I will always pick in person first because for me, shopping is a whole experience. It's being in the store, it's the sites, it's connecting with the person who's doing checkout. So I always prefer in person first. If it's a title that I can't find in my area, then I'll go to Amazon. But if I can get it either through my public library for free or I can find it at the thrift store, those are going to be my first two. And yes, I prefer small. I was a huge fan of Indigo, but I've noticed more and more there are fewer and fewer books. So, and I enjoy going to my thrift store. It's only 10 minutes away and it's a nice experience. It's a small building, so there aren't huge crowds or anything like that. And the money goes back into the community, so it's a win-win. So I definitely prefer the small stores. Physical, digital, or audio? I only do physical, book in hand. I've tried ebooks. It just doesn't work for me. I just need those. I need that book in my hand. I've tried a few different audio books. Actually, we were just talking about this on Greg and Alan's live stream Monday night. I just get too distracted with an audiobook, especially if I'm doing something else while the book is playing. I also used to work with audiobooks at school. I used the program Kurzweil. It was excellent. It helped so many students. But the beauty of that program is that you could set the speed that the reader was at. So if someone needed it lower to process, you could do that. If you needed to kick it up higher, you could do that as well. And to be honest, I always kicked it up higher when I was working on the books and making sure that the books or the worksheets, whatever, read properly for students before I had them listening to it. So the other thing with audiobooks is it isn't just that I get distracted, it reads too slow. which is why I get distracted. I can read a book faster than I can listen to it. So that's why I stick with book in hand. New versus used, I'm good either way. If I can get it used, that's fine. And again, as my recent book hauls from the thrift store demonstrate, I'm not picky about it. I mean, the books that I've gotten are all in excellent condition. They're an amazing price. So I've been able to really bump up my personal library over the last few months. Number 4 is, what about little free libraries? What do you think of them? Have you used one, and why or why not? I'm not sure what that means. I use my public library as much as I possibly can, but I'm not sure what the little free libraries are. Number 5, how do you feel after acquiring new books? And do you share in a book haul or other way? For me, new books are a treat. I'm always excited. I can't wait to get home and start reading them, which is why my reading list keeps getting knocked off to the side sometimes. But for me, a new book is an adventure. Whether it's an author I've read before, or it's a new author, or a new subject, I just get super excited about books. Other people get excited about going on vacations and travel. That's how I feel about new books. And I share them in my book haul videos. Number 6, how do you feel looking at your books that you haven't read? Does it matter if it's currently a lot or a small amount? It doesn't bother me to see that I have books that aren't read. I have actually 3 piles on the floor here, but I set a goal for myself in January 2022 to read every book that I own. Now, the exception to that would be some of my research books and books that have different correspondences between plants and animals and time of the year, astrology, etc. So I wouldn't necessarily read that group of books front to back. They're more of a reference. But I do have a goal to get through all of my personally owned books, which is now somewhere over 550, especially after this last book haul. But I've also been keeping track the last couple of years, and I think I'll need to tally it up, but I think I'm at somewhere about maybe 200 of my own books read, so I'm good with that because I'm making progress. Does it matter if I have a large or small amount? Not at all, because I know eventually I'll get to reading them. So, for example, my Zachariah Sitchin Earth Chronicles series, 6 books, had been sitting waiting for well over a decade, and I just finished reading them in a year. I have my Sherlock Holmes collection waiting for me to get started. Don't know if I'll leave that until next March or start beforehand. Edgar Allan Poe has been waiting for ages, and I will definitely be starting that in Horror Mayhem. So to me, I enjoy seeing them on my bookcase. It doesn't bother me if I haven't read them yet because I know when the time is right, I'll get to them. Number 7, how do you decide what number of unread books is the right amount? I don't. It's just whatever it happens to be. For me, and especially now having been around BookTube, there's just so many authors, so many books. There's only so much that I can personally read, and I really enjoy hearing about different people's thoughts and the books they've read. So I don't really have a number for that one. Number 8, do you have a TBR game or process for reading them? As I said, my goal in January 2022 was to read my personal library, so that will be going on for a while. But I also end up getting to them when I'm doing different research for myself, or whether that's to do a YouTube video. So, for example, last year when I read the Da Vinci Code to get to the secrets of the code, which had been waiting, that led to reading 50 of my own books. A few of them were rereads, like the Da Vinci Code, but a number of them had been sitting and waiting for quite some time, and they all just fit nicely into that reading pattern. So I don't really have a process, mostly because I pick my reads by either a project I'm working on or how I'm feeling, or if I just need a short read, or maybe I'm getting into wanting something bigger. So I don't really have the closest thing that I have to set reading in a time span has been recently participating in some of the book events. So the March Mysteries, I made a point of reading Cornwell and Reich through that month. This month, I already have my little bucket and my book set aside for horror mayhem. And then June, July, August, we'll be reading some Star Trek books for the first time. So that's the closest I get. The rest is kind of, did I have it planned to be finished by a certain time? Do I need something uplifting? So it's time to go back to some of my nonfictions like Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, or do I need to read some, Steering by Starlight, or do I just need to get out for a little bit and dive into some science fiction, whether that's Wells or Verne, or am I in need of some ghost stories because I just enjoy reading them. I don't find them upsetting. I find them fascinating. And they're just kind of a nice brain break when things get maybe a little too hectic in the everyday. Number 9, do you have a book buying problem? This is the one that made me laugh. And if so, what's the nature of it and can it be adjusted? So I've been joking that maybe I should just change my channel name to the Bookaholic. If you've seen again my last few book haul videos, I definitely treated myself for the first time in a while. I've had a few Indigo hauls when I was buying box sets and different things, but like I say, my thrift store is only 10 minutes away, and that's my big treat. And I'm not someone who can see some books that I've been really wanting to get into and put it off. And it's probably like some people when they go to the casino. They go in with so much money, and then when that's done, they're out. So when I go to the thrift store, I know how much I can spend, and then I just go wild through the sections and see what I can find under that amount. And I am going to behave in the next few months, fingers crossed, because I do need to get to reading them, but I also need to start getting my research notes together, and I've got a lot of the material here already. It's just a matter of sitting, reading it, and then doing the notes. So I may not have a book haul video for a month or two. We'll see how that goes. And then number 10 is to tag some folks. I'm not really sure what other people's schedules are, so by all means, if you would like to do this tag, I'll leave the prompts and the information down below. And until next time, take good care.